This is a fully automated mini rocket launch platform powered by Arduino. Featuring smoke effects, ignition control, OLED countdown, and realistic RGB fire simulation, all synchronized through custom programming. Here's how I built the entire system from scratch. First, let's take a look at how the rocket itself was built. For the main body, I used a 60cc syringe as the base structure. The outer body, nose cone, and fins were all custom-made using cardboard, carefully shaped and assembled to create a realistic rocket design. Now let's take a look at the components used in this system. To control the entire automation process, I used an Arduino Uno board. I also added a dual relay module, where one relay controls the ignition system and the other operates the smoke generator motor. For the main power source, I used a 3.6-volt lithium battery. As the ignition system, I used a high-voltage generator module. When powered with 3.6 volts DC, this module can generate an output voltage of around 400 kilovolts. Because of that, proper safety precautions are extremely important. I used a DC boost converter to step the 3.6-volt battery up to 5 volts DC, since both the Arduino Uno and relay module require a stable 5-volt supply. Next, let's take a look at how the ignition system works. The two output wires from the high-voltage generator module are connected directly to a pair of spark pins. I created this ignition setup using two simple copper wires positioned with a small gap between them to generate the spark effect. Now, let's move on to the smoke generation system. For this part, I used a small 3-volt mini water pump. A silicone tube is connected to the inlet side of the pump, and later in the video, I'll show exactly how the smoke effect works. I also added 3 addressable RGB LEDs to create a realistic rocket fire effect. We'll take a closer look at how this lighting effect works later in the video. I also added a 0.96-inch OLED display to show the current system status and launch sequence animations. Now let's take a quick look at the overall wiring of the system. The Arduino Uno controls the entire launch sequence, including the smoke system, ignition module, OLED display, and RGB fire effect. A 3.6-volt lithium battery powers the system through a boost converter to provide a stable 5-volt supply. You can download the complete wiring diagram using the link in the video description. And here's the final Arduino program powering the entire launch sequence, including the countdown animation, smoke system, ignition control, and RGB fire effects. You can download the complete source code using the link in the video description. Now it's time to test the complete system. First, I'll use the reset button on the Arduino Uno to start the launch sequence. As you can see, the countdown animation begins on the OLED display, while the RGB LEDs start flashing to simulate the rocket flame. Next, the smoke pump turns on to generate the smoke effect. Finally, the high-voltage ignition system becomes active. As you can see, the spark effect is triggered to simulate the final rocket ignition stage. Now, to create the smoke effect, we need to place a rolled paper insert onto the smoke pump, just like this. For the rocket fuel fire, I'm using a small amount of perfume. You can also use alternatives like alcohol, hand sanitizer, or body spray to fire the rocket. Next, we need to carefully ignite the paper roll attached to the smoke generator. Everything is ready. Now, let's launch the rocket. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this project, make sure to subscribe to AmithLabs. See you in the next amazing project.